Hi guys, and welcome back finally to the next episode of the Terriers Talk Weekly Review, episode 18. This week, obviously we had a bit of we missed out last week and we delayed it to now. Jay was on holiday, living it up in Barbados, I want to say.
Yeah,
right. So that was a lot of part of it. We've all been doing our own thing, obviously getting ready for summer to end, I suppose. So, but we're here now, and it was a lot of good things happened, and we get to start with the game itself, which was Reading. I think we all know by now it was 4-0 win. It was fantastic. You know, it was the culmination, I think, of everything we've done under Carlos for all this time so far. For me, but I think we'll take it goal by goal because there's a lot to unpack, I suppose, from each goal. First of all, before Daniel Sinani, the first real action of the game was him hitting the post with an excellent free kick, so I catch everyone off guard. But I'll start off by talking about Lewis O'Brien's goal and saying sorry for Andy Eardom that his career's already over, bless him, at 27, 28. But yeah, Sorba Thomas it's borderline ridiculous at this point how good he is, having come from Boreham Wood in January. So what, we're in September now, so that's 8 months ago. 8 months ago he was at Boreham Wood. No disrespect to Boreham Wood, of course, but in the fifth tier of English football, and now I don't think it's at all, being unreasonable to say he could be a Premier League footballer next year. So, yeah, he's obviously flicked it over Yerdom after a lovely switch from Colwell. It's just standard. Which ain't going to get talked about as much, but yeah, he's flicked over, sort of scuffs the ball in, but Danny Ward expertly left to run through to O'Brien, who, hammers it hard, true. Raphael's not got a chance, and I think we deserved that. It was around the half an hour mark, I think. And before that, Sinai's hit the post. Karoma got in a couple of times, and you were sort of thinking, it's just going to be another one of them games where we have, good chances and we don't take them. But yeah, it got us into a 1-0 half-time lead, and then I think it was obviously Matty Pearson who scored next, and it came from another Sorba Thomas delivery. I think unless you want to talk about anything else before. Good way to segue to the next one.
I think you've covered the first goal brilliantly. Like you said before, like it was a game of we'd gone forward a lot, which it was just pleasing to see, especially at home. Obviously, at one point under the Cowleys, they were trying to make the John Smith fortress. Obviously, we're not that far into it at the moment, but we're 2 wins on the bounce now, and we're looking quite solid at home, dare I say. And we're scoring a lot, which obviously you can only take from the Reading game. But like it's nice to see us having chances and then actually creating goals from them as well. As much as it's encouraging to just see chances for them to actually be made into goals, it's so refreshing, because look back at previous seasons, we'll have had however many chances and only a low percentage of them will actually have resulted in goals. We're now looking at a team that have just come on the back of 7 goals in about 10 days, I think it is, which is ridiculous, because you could probably go a few months last season where we'd scored the amount of goals. The second goal just sums us up so far this season. It's another set piece, and whilst I'm not complaining about it in the slightest, I think once again, it's so refreshing. I need to stop saying that it's refreshing, because that is just the way that we're seeing the club at the moment. Everything just seems an improvement on last season. Sorba Thomas's delivery once again brilliant, and whilst I think it's very mirroring of the goal that we conceded at Derby, nobody really turned on the back stick for Reading, and Matty Pearson's there to just poke it in. Somewhat reminiscent of the Schindler goal, I think, against Nottingham Forest a year or two ago. And it's, I don't know how to describe it really, apart from the fact that we've got goal scoring centre halves that will put their body on the line to get a goal now, which we've always had defenders that will put the body on the line. But now we're having them doing it on the offensive end, and it's, I don't want to say refreshing again, but it is just so good to see us having those players and going for the killing games, because it really is. Last season, if we had gone 1-0 and maybe sat back and been a bit resolute, been a bit naive, but this season, especially just this game in particular, we just kept going for it, and that's something that's obviously, it's going to keep getting better obviously as the season goes on and the players get more intertwined with each other. The third goal, Jay, what do you really think of it?
Sorba Thomas.
Yeah.
Magician. I mean, like you said just then, Ben, it could have been 5 or 6. Like you said last year, we could have got 2 and just sat back. But there's a hunger and there's a desire in this team which sets it apart from the rest of the teams we've been watching over the past 3-4 years. Again, it all stems from Sorba. I mean, he picks it up near the halfway line and he just drives. And I've said this probably 1,000 times in the past 2 weeks to myself. It's because of his mentality. He's playing non-league, and that's a league where you do the dirty work yourself. You can't rely on your teammates. You've got to put a shift in, and he's made that step up, and he's done it absolutely flawlessly. He takes it. He beats 3 or 4 players. A bit of luck with getting his feet, in the right way. A few little deflections off defenders, but he does unbelievably well to manoeuvre himself and the ball and have the composure to finish. I think it was only a matter of time before that goal was coming for Sorba. I think it's 4 assists and a goal now, which is just absolutely ridiculous. I think his assist contributions put him up highest in the country with Paul Pogba. I think it's 4 each now, it just shows what type of player Sorba is. By no means am I comparing him with Paul Pogba, but it just shows his level and his consistency. Like Jack said, I'm quite confident Sorba will be playing Premier League football sometime in his career. Hopefully it's for us, but that's for another day. No, I'm absolutely delighted for Sorba, because he is that guy who last season, especially on this show, we did have doubts over, because we said there's potential but there's no end product. This season he is Mr. End Product. He's got everything. I was speaking to my brother and I said, it God forbid, if Sorba does get injured, it'd be interesting to see how we react, because at the start of the season, if you told me Sorba Thomas would be our star player and we'd be relying on a lad who, like Jack said at the beginning of the episode, was playing non-league football 8 months ago, you'd be laughed at. But here we are, Sorba. He's a surprise, and the other surprise was our 4th goal scorer, and I'll go around in circle. I'll let you cover it, Jack. Danny Ward. He had a good game, didn't he?
Yeah, if I may, I think you've missed something quite important out, and that being Lewis O'Brien and Harry Toffolo's little dance after a couple of the goals. Josh Koroma and Sorba Thomas clearly had something choreographed, and while it was nice, It wasn't anything like that. So, and just one more thing, if you are going to go back and find all of the things we said about Sorba Thomas and his lack of end product, please don't do that. But yeah, Danny Ward, I'm happy for him. I think being honest, is he at the level? Probably not. No, but he did have a good game. He was dropping. He started the move that led to his goal.
Yeah.
I'll go back to Danny Ward, but I'm of the belief that one of the most satisfying things you can watch on a football pitch is someone knocking the ball and burning them. And Josh Koroma did just that, akin to the famous one is Gareth Bale, who did it against Inter Milan, did it against I think he did it in the Copa del Rey as well. The time he scored. So yeah, Josh Koroma, he had a fantastic game, did Koroma. It was a thorn in the side of, I want to say McIntyre, no, Holmes. It's Holmes, yeah. It was Holmes who was the unfortunate to be at right back that day. And he just, this specific example, he's just burnt him. And he sets himself, he plays it just calmly into the path of Danny Ward, and the way he just shifts it around Raphael, it's almost like he's seen what Raphael's going to do. And it's fantastic, and I'm really happy that Ward is, he's got his goal, and for all we know, it could kick him off. Obviously there's a signing that we're going to touch on a little bit later that could help push him as well. We've seen that with Lee Nichols, we've seen that with the centre halves that we brought him. But so I think that sort of wraps up the Reading game. It was a great performance. There's a lot of other that didn't score individually that played fantastic. Colwill, standard. Lee Nichols, he's refreshing.
Lee Nichols,
to quote a hero of mine, Lee Nichols is refreshing. But it's like Nichols, Colwill, Sinani. Not
brilliant.
as busy against Everton, but just in between the lines, again, Karoma, as I say, Hogg back to his sort of usual self, O'Brien. Yeah, you could name every player who was on the pitch in blue and white that day. But we'll move on now to the star of the week. It's probably the easiest choice we'll have for a long time. Huddersfield's goal of the month winner for his strike against Reading. To no one's surprise, Sorba Thomas, the first two-time winner this season. I wonder how many more he'll rack up. But so now we'll touch on Town's last piece of transfer business, incoming at least, this season, and that's the loan signing of West Ham and Ireland striker Mipo Odubeko, on a season-long loan, of course. Ben, how excited does this make you? Is it a prospect, do you think, for Town?
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't say I've seen lots of him. I'd be lying if I said I had. But the reports from West Ham and the actual reaction, I think you can tell a lot about a player from the reaction that they get when they go on loan. The West Ham fan base they weren't shocked, but because obviously I think they all know that he wanted a loan and that he needed a loan. But I think that some were maybe even questioning if he should be in and around their first team. But he's apparently got a very good scoring record in the PL2, which is obviously lovely, and it shows very much that while we were going for the likes of Emile Smith-Rowe, Lossell, for example, in the past with Premier League loans, we're going for very much kind of young, unknown talents to the wider audience, which I think is really, really nice. That we're going for players that, we might not have heard of them before, but if they have a chance to really kick on at the club and massively help us, then who knows how. Say, for example, we have a really good season, but we're unlucky to not get out to playoffs, for example. We might be able to potentially get them in for a second season if they have a good development under us. But I mean, in the notes from Lee Bromby, Mipo was described as somebody that a striker was needed because obviously of the injury to Rhodes. But obviously, I think it's a very different kind of striker to Jordan Rhodes. So I don't think it's exactly an eye for eye replacement, but more of a something completely different. And it is something that we need. As good as Danny Ward was on Saturday, and as good as he was against Sheff Wednesday, he's been far too inconsistent. Fraser Campbell, I think his legs are going a bit, and as much as he has been a player for us in the past season and a bit, then I don't think he should be our starting striker. I don't think Danny Ward should be our starting striker, and as much as I love Rhodes, I wouldn't really want him to be our starting striker, because whilst he can offer a lot, we do need something up there. And I really hope that Mipo can just provide that bit of hunger that we need, and just become a really consistent scorer in the division. His record speaks for itself. West Ham fans seem to love him, so I'm hoping that come January, we're going to be saying that he's one of the signings of the season for us. But obviously there is the break in his loan. I think there is. I think both clubs have a break from him in January, although it is a year loan spell. I think there's a period in January where they can either be recalled or something like that, or we can send him back or something like that. I hope for our sake he's not recalled, and I hope for our sake as well that he's not sent back because he hasn't lived up to the hype around him. But from his signing video, just alone that he posted on his Twitter, he looks like he really does mean business. And hopefully he scores 1 or 2 or 15 for us this season.
Yeah, I completely agree. I had literally just touched down in sunny Barbados, opened my phone, and we signed someone. So it was brilliant day. No, like you said, he looks like a very promising player. He's only 18 years old of age. Very, very athletic, strong physically, and it looks like he's got an absolute bullet of a right foot, which is very, very good to see. I think he, all being well, could make his debut this Saturday at Stoke. That'll be good to see. Hopefully he can add some goals because I, like Ben, was reading the replies from West Ham fans and he said one thing going to get is goals. And that's what he said. Obviously not like that. He said the one thing I do like to do is score goals. Now that's obvious, that's maybe given as a striker, but as a striker, as a young striker, to come in and say, I want to score goals for your football club is a very good thing to hear. As a Huddersfield Town fan, and like you said, Ben, I hope for his own sake and the sake of the club, he can be a Smith Rowe-esque signing. Because you never know what can happen with alone in the Championship. Like Smith Rowe, one season in the Championship, and now he's sharing the midfield with Arsenal players. I'm sure Smith Rowe, would love to come back here because he's only 4 places away from where we are. But that's for another day. Jack, are you sharing the optimism that me and Ben have?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be brutally honest, it wouldn't be my first choice because if we could go and get someone who's going to hold the ball up and get himself in and around the 6-yard box, that's the sort of striker, like a Kiefer Moore, that's the sort of striker I'd be interested in for the way we play football. But having seen very limited of him, I remember him coming on. No, he didn't come on. Did he come on? I remember him. He played for West Ham against Man United, and I remember hearing the name when he was on the commentary. But he did play quite a bit in that game, so I've heard the name before. And obviously, there's the compilations, and I'm a big believer that compilations tell half, if that, of the story. But what we do know from that is he's quick, he's 2-footed, and he's eager to shoot inside and outside the box. So I'm happy with it. I think the video that he put out of his medical, and I think that's ace. I just think, imagine Johnny Ogg seeing that. I think they'll have to keep that away from him because he'll be having none of that, and having his nickname on the back of the shirt as well. I think that's brilliant. It's just the little things. I think he sounds raring to go. I think he's got a point to prove, just as Levi Colwill has, that is part of this new younger generation who are coming in younger. Like Jude Bellingham is the biggest example. Getting that chance before 20, which you haven't really seen for some time. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing him play. Hopefully at the Bet365, if it's still called that, this weekend. So that was the day before deadline day, of course, and it sort of meant we had quite a quiet deadline day. We had a bit of good news, a bit of bad news. I mean, it was less news, more rumblings. So Lewis O'Brien, probably 2 episodes ago, we were sort of succumbing to it being his last game for Town. He's staying now, and there's talk of a new contract. It's fantastic, I stand by that. I would have been okay with him leaving because I believe that he would have been replaced. And the fee, if they would have matched the 8 to 10 sort of million price range up front, obviously Leeds, we probably would have and could have, got someone else in. But to have him stay, and he's stepped up his game in the last couple of matches as well. To have him stay is good. It's good for the club. It's good for Toffolo. It's good for It's good for all the lads really to have him around, and if he does get this new contract, it's another big boost. And it feels like we're on top of the world at the moment, which is nice being a Town fan. It's not I don't want to sound like first world problems and that, but we've had a couple or three really poor years, and it feels like we're on a bit of an up again. Not to get ahead of ourselves or all, but it feels like we are on an upward trajectory finally, and that's just another, it's another good bit of news that we're keeping not only O'Brien but keeping him, Toffolo, Karoma, all in the same summer. When I think it would have been fair to say before the summer started that we were all expecting at least one of them three to go.
Definitely.
So it's good business to keep them in. I'm sure you guys agree. So we won't touch on that too much more. But what we will sort of touch on a bit is the Isaac Mbenza situation. We couldn't find a club for him as we did with Bakuna on deadline day. There was rumblings again. There's rumblings, all throughout. But so how disappointing is it that it ended the way it did, Ben, with us not getting a fee? And we don't know what really happened, but it's not what we wanted, is it?
I think it's obviously quite disappointing that he's not gone for a fee. I think everybody at the club would have rather he'd gone on a free rather than what's happened with his contract being, I'm going to guess, mutually terminated. Nobody knows what's actually happened there. The club tweeted that they had reached an agreement, which makes us think that there's been a payoff of some sorts, whether that's a payment in full of his contract or slightly less, or if there was a clause in his contract that said if clubs come in, you don't reach a deal, but we've agreed for payment with them, and you've been the one that's halted the progress of that, then there'll be a payment of XYZ, and the contract will be terminated. Obviously, he's gone to Qatar Sports Club, I believe they're called. So he's going to be earning a pretty penny, to say the least, you can imagine. I think we still had a rather successful window. I'd still say about an 8 or a 9 out of 10, arguably. In terms of summer windows, I think it's been a lot better than summer windows we've had in the past few years, at least. Obviously, I think the move, if we'd got a Mbenza out and maybe one or two others in, I think it would have been maybe a 9, 10, maybe. But it's not something that I'm going to lose sleep over, the fact that we've got him out of his contract. He's a player that for years now we've seen the club have struggled with him, whether that's managers saying that they don't really rate him, because I can remember Cowley saying that him and Diakabi were a bit problematic at times. Carlos has tried his best with him at the end of the start of last season. He looked a completely different player under Carlos. He looked revamped. Then he tailed off very quickly, which is obviously very disappointing, but it's something that we can't do anything about. We've not got a fee for him. No point losing sleep over it. Just to touch on the O'Brien thing as well. I think that if I'm honest, I do think he would have gone if Leeds hadn't got Dan James and Pars hadn't got Edouard on the dying embers of the window. I think that had a major part to play in it, because it was pretty much the same as what Leeds did last summer, how they said they had no money available, got Rafinha. Yeah. They've then spent pretty much the exact same on Dan James. We're not here to talk about Leeds, make of the deal what you want. But I think that has had a rather large part to play in the fact that Lewis Bratton hasn't departed. And I think that has now proved to him as well that Leeds or Palace don't really value him as much as he is valued at Town, which is why I do think contract talks will open soon, obviously with his contract running out at the end of this season. So I will be interested to see how that happens in the next few weeks, potentially even months. But I will be very happy to see Lewis O'Brien in blue and white next season if the proposed contract talks are actually true for Alan Nixon. Jay, do you think that the Mbenza deal, do you reckon we've got out of it quite well with us potentially not having to pay a full season of wages, or do you think it's still a bit kind of disheartening that we weren't able to shift him off at the end of the window?
I think people are very quick to jump to well, he shouldn't have renewed his contract. But I don't think anyone knew, with all due respect, that he would stall, or it does seem like he's stalled for the duration of the window. I don't think the club and Mbenza have got on. It looks like from a outsider's point of view. There's obviously been some bump in the road, because it would have been simple to say, all right, Isaac will extend your contract and sell you for a decent amount. Hindsight is powerful. I'll leave it at that, because it is just very, very good to see him finally walk out the door for the last time, with all due respect. It's not gone well. It's been a roller coaster. Down, up for a bit, and then it's just plummeted and never really, come to fruition again. His move to Qatar really does speak for itself. There's a phrase, money talks. I think it just lacks ambition. He's pretty much retired at 25, to be honest. But yeah, we'll leave it at that. I mean, it's just good to see him go. I think that is the last of the 2018 window, which just tore the soul financially out of our club. I think Sobi, Diakabi, Mbenza, there's one more who was a really big earner.
Congolo,
yeah. I mean, Congolo, he was
good
terrific.
for the loan.
Good for the loan, and then once we, slapped 10 million down, it just went downhill. But yeah, it's good to see all those individuals elsewhere, because now the club can completely have a new outlook on things and create the true identity they want to create without having any, I don't want to say outsiders, but those who don't want to immerse themselves into that identity. It's all about going forward now, isn't it? I mean, we are in the best position we've been in three or four seasons. I think the fans are more or less united. There's always going to be, one X who has one opinion and Y who has the other opinion, and that's life, and that is our fan base. That's always going to happen, and fair enough. But no, I think the club is in a very good position for what we would have thought. If I said to you, we'd have kept, like Jack said, all of our star players and reduced our wages at the start of the window. You would have thought, yeah, let's have it, But I think it moves pretty nicely onto, and I can't speak, it's late. It moves pretty nicely onto a fixture with a club who are pretty much in the same position as us. Goal difference, I think we're just one place higher, in fourth place. Wow, nosebleed moment. Stoke City, Saturday, be my first trip to the, I don't know what it's called, is it Britannia?
It was, I think it's the Bet365, isn't it?
Yeah.
Depends if you're playing FIFA or not.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it's going to be probably eye to eye our biggest challenge of the season. I mean, Fulham was just an absolute annihilation. I don't think it was a challenge, because we just laid down to him. This game it's massive. We've had the international break. We've had Mipo come in, and two clubs who are doing very well. Stoke probably have a contender for goal this season. Scoring against Nottingham Forest, gorgeous football. Reminiscent of ours against Derby last year. And I'm very excited, because, to be honest, from what I've seen from Stoke's fans, they're very optimistic. And to be honest, I think this game will be decided by one bit of quality. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the man who haunts Huddersfield Town and all their fans is back, Tyrese Campbell. Is that the case? Because he had a long injury, didn't he? And we didn't see him since. But there's always shades of that New Year's Day 5-2 demolition at home. If he was to play, it'd be a very intriguing contest between him and Levi Colwell and Pearson. That could be a matchup which pretty much will or could define a game. Would you agree, Ben?
Yeah, I think for however long now Tyrese Campbell has haunted us, he always seems to have an absolute blinder against us. The 5-2, the 3-2. You know, both times Tyrese Campbell absolutely shone, and I don't think that's exactly an understatement. I think potentially it's going a little bit too low on how well he actually has played against us. He just is a player that always does well against us. He is a bogeyman against us, and hopefully now we've got dare I say, a better defensive line. All in all, we might be able to potentially not see as good as a Tyrese Campbell. Bear in mind he is just coming back from injury, which will obviously have a major part to play in it. But I think that potentially we might be safe from Tyrese Campbell and his hold that he currently has in Huddersfield Town against us. But I think it's a game that both sides need. It's a major challenge. Obviously, we've played Sheffield United and Fulham. Sheffield United was a challenge for a different reason than Fulham. I think Fulham, both us and Stoke, got a good beating off Fulham. They do look like they will be one of the favourites, if not the favourite, to go up as champions. Their squad is ridiculous. Everybody knows that in the Championship. So I don't think for either of us, Stoke is a good kind of test of where either side is at. But the fact that we're both up there, I think the fact that they lost 3-0 and they've been widely regarded by pundits as one of the favourites to be in and around the playoffs. Michael O'Neill has got them playing some really nice football. So it will be a challenge for us. And I think it will be the first kind of big challenge that we can see whereabouts we are actually at as a club after the window, whether we are going to be a playoff kind of club, whether we're going to be mid-table, whether we're going to be down there. Obviously, you can't tell that from one game, but I think that the first of that options, you're going to be able to tell a lot from this game against Stoke. Jack, do you think that's a bit unrealistic to say, or do you reckon that you got to look at the wider picture when you've got to say what games mean?
No, I think first and foremost, who'd have thought the Titans of the Championship slugging it out early on would be Stoke City and Huddersfield Town, but no, I would suggest that if we go to Stoke on Saturday and convincingly win the 3 points, I think it's fair to start dreaming. I think it's fair to. It's early days, but
it's bold.
It's bold and it's early days, but I'm not saying I will, but I think it's fair because I think that shows enough. It shows that we can do the nitty gritty against clubs like Sheffield United. It shows we can, clubs that are probably like Reading in a worse state than us. It shows that we can demolish them, can grind out points. I don't think I will, but I think it's fair enough to start thinking maybe we could do something. Maybe lightning can strike twice. Although I probably shouldn't say that after what Jay said in the recent weeks. He got a bit grilled, but bless your little heart, Jay. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I've been to Stoke a few times. It's all right. I was there when Shaqiri was about. I was there when Bakuna scored in both ends. Both of them games. I was there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping again, Mipo, as he's being dubbed. I think I'll forget his surname by the end of his time here. But I hope he gets probably some action off the bench. Again, Tyrese Campbell. I think he'll probably feature from the bench as well because he's been out for a long time. It's no coincidence that the football gods have decided he should make his return against Huddersfield Town. But it'll be a good game. I think it's two sides who want to play football and have real ambition. And I think two sides who've done good business in the transfer window. They've brought in players like Mario Vrancic, who's a fantastic footballer. Somewhere I would have liked to see at Huddersfield. Amongst others, kept Nick Powell as well. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. And then on the Tuesday night, one that I've been looking forward to ever since they won that playoff final, and that's Blackpool away, the Richard Keogh derby. Of course, the last time we were at Blackpool away, there was the pitch invasion. So there's a bit of stuff behind that game, and Blackpool are really struggling to adapt. I think from what I've seen of them, I think they've conceded quite a few late on. But they've also, they fought back from 2-0 down against Bournemouth quite recently, a clinch a point. So they've clearly got a bit about them. I like Shane Lavery, who's coming from Ireland. I think he's he's good. He plays in between the lines, off the shoulder. He's very quick. So I think Levi Colwill will be sort of tasked mainly with marshalling him. So I'm looking forward to both of these games. I think 6 points is a real possibility. I don't like to predict the championship. I think I've made that abundantly clear in my 18 appearances. I think, have I missed a few? I don't know. But, I'll be on 18. Yeah, give or take. But yeah, I think we really could go and get 2 wins, which would be a massive statement. I think Blackpool's the more likely one. I would take 1 win, 1 loss. I'd be all right with that. But I think we do have to win one of the both to sort of keep a bit of momentum going. Yeah, I'm sure you guys agree, Jay. Looking forward to it. I think it's going to be something we can prove ourselves a bit more.
Yeah, I think obviously Blackpool not doing very well. I think it's a game much like the Reading game. I hope it turns out to be that way because let's be honest, I'll just track back to that Reading game. They were well off it. I mean, the only positive they had was Junior Hoylett, and on that left-hand side in the first few minutes. After that, he just faded away. I think it will be a good opportunity for the team to really, like you said, stamp their authority down this league. I think this week is probably the most important week we've had in the season so far. Just because there's that opportunity to realistically get 6 points and establish ourselves as, up here as opposed to down there. I'm not going to say much else because if this does get into the wrong hands, I'll probably get grilled again. But no, it's a big week for Town. I'm sure myself, like you two, are begging for 6 points. And it makes 2 very good away days. Excited to go to Stoke, never been. Blackpool, it's pending, but if we do get there, it should be a very good away day. I'm sure it'll be a packed out away end. Tuesday night would have been brilliant for a weekend game. Saturday kick-off.
Typical.
But yeah, it is typical, but so be it. That's how it is. No, I'm really looking forward to it, and hopefully this time next week we'll be raving about Mipo and a lovely away day trip to Blackpool. Ben, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, I think it's obviously looking at Blackpool, it's 2 clubs that have been pretty much polar opposites for the past few seasons, and now we're meeting in the middle. Obviously, Blackpool have gone through the Iceland era, and now through that, which is brilliant for them as a club.
Yeah.
They're now sitting in the Championship. It's something that we've been in the Prem, they've been in League One, they've been struggling. We've been doing well up to a certain point, and then we've kind of plummeted whilst they've risen. So it will be a really interesting game to see how they have actually come on since the last time we played them. Saw a few fans claiming that they should get free tickets after what happened last time, but obviously that's not how football works financially, unfortunately. It's a massive week, and I do think we'll be saying this when it's a double game week. Personally, I think Preston and Sheffield United was a bigger week than this, if I'm honest. I think Preston, I think looking back at it at the time, I think now I'd say that this is a bigger game week. But looking back at it, how I was at that point, I think we were thinking about it very differently after the Fulham game and the Derby game. So hopefully we get another 6 points. I would love that because, you know, it's to say us getting back-to-back 6 points out of 6 points in a double game week would be ridiculous, especially playing against 4 very well-renowned sides. So I'm optimistic that we can. I'm hoping that Mipo features. I'm hoping that he scores and gets his season off to a good start at the side. But yeah, that's pretty much, I think, it for this episode 18. So Jack, do you wanna outro it or?
I can do, yeah. I'll do I'll just read off the list I've got stuck on the wall that I say every week. No, but thank you guys for watching. Again, it's always a pleasure. I've missed it, to be honest. We had a week off and it wasn't nice, but you know, here we are, we're back, and yeah, thank you again. This is the first time we've mentioned Scott High in the video. A good time. He didn't play against Reading. We didn't even mention that. I think I might have to start questioning Carlos for the first time. But anyway, thank you guys again for the third time. I hope you enjoyed it. Continue to like and subscribe so we can get to 200.
Comment any questions that you've got for a Q&A as well.
Oh yeah, that's a good point actually. This is really unprofessional. Yeah, go on. We're planning
a live Q&A at some point over the next week or so, hopefully. All things considered. So if you do have any questions, either leave them on this video, or I'm sure there'll be a tweet from one of us asking for questions on Twitter. So please do give any suggestions for questions that you've got, and we will look at potentially answering them in the Q&A, whether that be live on YouTube or Twitter, but it will be uploaded onto YouTube, I'm pretty sure, either. So yeah, thank you for watching, and we are trying to get to 200 subscribers, even if we're not too close yet. I know Jack's still in your line, I do apologise. But yeah, thank you for watching, and we will see you next week to hopefully review 6 points.